Welcome one, welcome all back to the show. It's the show by below average bettors for below average bettors, and we're here to talk about UFC Vegas 51.
Yes.
The Nosebleeds is here. Dominic, how are you feeling coming off of a very active UFC 273 betting week for us?
Yes, it was a big week for us. We did finish positive. I was negative, but Noah went big, and I'm trying to bounce back because now, Noah, I'm on the losing skid. 2 straight losing weeks for me. Noah's going big for the show here. I'm trying to bounce back this week. Noah's trying to keep the momentum. It's a interesting card, I will say, for betting. This is one of those where there's value, but you got to do a little digging. You got to do a little searching, some hunting, and we've done that for you guys. We've got some big plays to place, and I'm excited to get going, Noah.
Yeah, I guess my way of picking plays this week was I went through the whole card as I do, but without the odds in mind. So I just go through the fights. I'm like doing my research. I'm looking up the guys' records, who they fought, what I know about them, what I can learn about them. And then if I feel confident enough one way or another, I'll write it down or put it in my notes. If I feel like a fight's going to go over a certain amount of length, I'll put it down. If I feel like it's going to end in a certain way, whatever it might be. Then, just because I know what kind of bets I can place up to now at this point, then I'll go to the odds and just find the odds for that play. So there was a few times where I'm like, oh, okay, I really like that one, but at the odds, it's very big in the minus. So
Right.
might have to put it on a parlay. Or there was something that was a pretty big underdog, and I'm like, oh, shit, okay, let's put that on there. Single play, you know what I mean? So I found it to be a very successful way to make some plays this week. You're right. It's not a very deep card, but you have to dig deep to find the value.
Yes.
And that's, the thrill of the hunt for us guys. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But let's see. Flash that little graphic, that pretty graphic you made for UFC 273.
Oh, yeah. Where it's coming. Hold on. Here it is. I got 2 now because we flashed 2. So here we go. This is last week. Oops.
All right. You want to take that?
I got you.
Yeah, so it ended up being a pretty good week for me. Man, it started out so good, though.
I know. Look at the singles.
God, the parlays at the end. Peter Yan one hurt. Split decision.
Yes.
Aljo retains the belt. Could have scored that fight either way, but that one hurts. And then the other parlay, Burns Chimaev. I mean, I would have, if there would have been one play I would have had to make, that would have probably been for that fight, not to go to distance. And sure enough, it ends up being a fight of the year candidate. That's just the way it goes sometimes. I'm not going to be deterred, though. The 0 for 2 on parlays, and considering how bad I've been at parlays up to this point, might make you think that I'm going to be deterred, but I think today I doubled down.
Anything but, baby.
So, Dominic, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's the singles for me. We did so great there. What was it? 6-1 with the 2 units on Pierre Rodriguez. Obviously, I lost out on Aspen Ladd. She looked great in the 3rd round. I don't know what happened the rest of the fight. She kind of forgot what her skill set was, but it comes with the territory, man. I knew that was a risk going in at plus 165, and it bit me in the ass. But other than that, I mean, obviously it sucks. We hit 3 of the 4 on the big money line parlay. Peter Yan loses that split decision. That we both did score for him. I still need to go back and watch round 1. I'm seeing a lot of debate about it recently. But, again, we came out in the plus, and that's what matters most at the end of the day for the below-average bet slip.
Well said. We stand right now at over 12.5 units positive on the year. I'd say it's pretty good. I'd like to be a little bit higher, but I'm the one that's kind of holding us back right now. I'm very much the one lagging behind. Dominic's the leader of us right now, so hopefully I can keep some positive momentum from last week, and Dominic can just, go back to doing what Dom does. And that's big things, baby.
Amen, baby.
So let's talk about UFC Vegas 51, Dominic.
Shall
we? If you guys didn't join us last week and you've seen other episodes, or if you're just new, we go through the whole card.
Oh, yeah.
We'll start with the first fight of the night, go all the way to the main event. And essentially the point is just each fight, we'll talk about the odds we got in front of us on our notes here. We got like the money line odds, the over under, KO, submission, decision for fight to go to distance, all that. So we also got some stats about these fighters if we don't know, a ton about them, especially a card like this.
Right.
How many KOs, how many subs, how many times have they been to a decision? What's their record in a decision? Very eye-opening stuff on this one, I think. So, and we'll name our plays along the way. After we go through the main event, Dominic will have a graphic of all of our stuff together, and that's where we'll talk about any parlays that we're placing for this week. We did parlays in the fight discussion last week, and it just kind of it didn't flow quite as well. So we'll try it this way, see how it goes. We start with Alatengheili. I don't understand. I'm uncultured, guys. I don't understand these the Chinese fighters having their first and last name as one.
Or flip sometimes
the
too.
UFC just started doing that recently, I feel like. So, but Alatengheili taking on Kevin Croom. So Kevin Croom, I remember he fought Bruce Leroy.
Yeah.
Lost in that one. And Kevin Croom is just... He's not very good, Dominic. I mean, he's 0-2, got the 1-no contest, hasn't won a fight in the UFC. He comes in as a plus 155. I've just not been all that impressed with him. He's 21-14 overall in his career.
Yeah.
For Alateng, he's 2-1 in the UFC. That's a little bit better, obviously. But he's a guy that had to. He's not exactly been on the cleanest of runs outside the UFC either. And what we've seen with a lot of these Chinese fighters, and I'm not trying to. This isn't like trying to stereotype their MMA scene or anything like that, but what I've noticed, especially with some of these men and women from China that come on the Contender Series, some of their fights, they might be 10-0, but the combined record of their previous opponents is very lackluster. So the level of competition they're fighting sometimes regionally doesn't quite hold up. So Dominic, I know I just kind of went long-winded for the first fight there. I'm going to do better about that. But anything in mind for this one? It's a under-the-radar fight for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a fun fight, but it's good you went long-winded because I don't have much more to add on to the conversation. Again, no plays here from either of us in this one, so we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah. Following that, Istela Nunes taking on Sam Hughes. Neither girl has a win so far. They're combined 0-4 in the UFC. Sam Hughes 0-3.
Yeah.
So Nunes is a minus 2-1 favorite here, but should she be?
I thought it was very interesting when I saw that Nunes has only had that one fight in the UFC and she did lose. So it's interesting that they're looking at her at minus 220, but I think the odds are kind of just saying, who do they believe in more at this point? Who has a higher ceiling? And I would also tend to lead toward Nunes as well. So I like where the odds sit, I suppose. I feel like if Hughes doesn't come in and get a finish over Nunes, there's no other routes to victory. Nunes just a better, well-rounded fighter. And so for that reason alone, she's played later on in our parlays at the end of the show.
Yeah, combined 6 finishes between these two ladies, and they've fought, let me do my math here. They've fought about 17 times total.
Yeah.
So you think that this fight might go to distance. Nunes is 4-0 in decisions.
Yeah.
Might be worth putting some money on her by decision, but I don't trust either one of these ladies enough to really even scratch the surface here.
Yeah.
After that, Jordan Leavitt, guy that's fun from the Contender Series. He does the splits after he gets his wins.
Yeah.
He's taking on a guy making his debut in the UFC, but he's the favorite coming in, Trey Ogden. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I thought this was interesting. So Trey's 15-4 coming in, but it's his debut. Jordan's been in there in the UFC a few times now, 2-1. He had that body slam knockout, if you remember, which was just crazy when that one happened. So I'm kind of surprised. I mean, it's plus 110, so he's close to even money, but still to be an underdog here, I liked it enough from what I've seen from Leavitt in his UFC career. The only loss he had in his entire career was in the UFC, but it was a decision that was relatively close. I actually went with a money line play here on Jordan Leavitt at plus 110. I believe any man at plus 110 odds. I'm going to take the risk against the debuting guy in Trey Ogden with not as much high-level experience. I'm willing to take the risk.
Sorry, Jordan Leavitt. I was saying Leavitt. Doesn't even sound right. Come on. Following that, Huggy Bear. He's back. Chris Barnett.
There
Coming
he
off
is.
of that massive performance at MSG where he became a star basically overnight.
Yeah.
But he's kind of came back down to earth since. I haven't seen him since. That has something to do with it. But now he's welcoming Martin Buday to the UFC, a guy from the Contender Series who looked really good. And Chris Barnett, pretty decent-sized underdog. I think some people are going to be surprised by these odds, but I would say that those people that are surprised probably haven't seen Buday fight. Would you agree?
Right. Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's a reason that the odds are this heavily swayed in his favor. 9-1, looked amazing on the Contender Series. He's finished 8 out of 9. Barnett's good, don't get me wrong, and way more experience. But again, it's kind of the same with Nunes in a sense, and it's funny, they're both minus 220. The higher ceiling, where does it fall? And I think that's why the odds are swayed so heavily in Martin's favor there.
Yeah, between the two, combined 24 knockouts and 1 submission, funny enough.
Yeah.
So I think for me, definitely thinking this fight gets a finish. Chris Barnett's 1-1 in UFC. Both have been stopped, including his debut was in a losing effort. He tends, if he doesn't get him out there early, man, he carries that weight.
Yes.
So he tends to gas. I mean, he's a guy that's throwing wheel kicks like he did when he finished Jean Vellante. It doesn't hold up very well over the course of 3 rounds. But Buday, very interesting guy coming in here for his debut because he did look very good on the Contender Series.
Yes, sir.
After that, Rafa Garcia and Jesse Ronson?
Yes, sir.
This is our pick and fight of the week. This is the fight with the closest odds as it stands now. And dare I say, Tom, I think these are so close because people just don't know what the fuck is going to happen.
I think that's exactly the case, man. I mean, Rafa Garcia, he's 12-2, but he's 1-2 in the UFC. For Ronson, 21-10, a lot of experience. His only fight in the UFC was a freaking no contest. So, I mean, what even can we say for Ronson's half? So, I tend to lean on Garcia, but the odds are so close, man. It could be a fun little scrap, just one that I didn't want to touch on the bet slip.
I was very close to making a money line play on Garcia. I even wrote it in my notes, but just ended up holding off. Garcia's 1 win I thought he looked very good in, but 1-2 in the company. Ronson, I just don't know a ton about. He is a high finisher, 17 finishes.
Yeah.
Although that's in 31 fights. I guess I shouldn't call him a high finisher, but only 4-7 in decisions, so not great there if it goes all the way. There's some interesting value here. Maybe Garcia. If you do Garcia on the money line, I think it might be worth it because you would probably lean his way if it goes to a decision. Again, Ronson doesn't seem to do as well over the course of a 3-round fight. But, man, if that fight gets finished, especially if Ronson keeps it standing, 10 knockouts versus 1, I think you know who's in favor there.
Yeah, I will say from what I'm seeing, plus 110 to not go the distance. So, I mean, potentially if you're not willing to kind of take a risk on a fighter, you could get plus odds at a finish. I mean,
Both
again,
guys have 7 submissions,
Yeah, so there's potential there for it.
After that, Drakkar Klose, who's the biggest favorite.
Yeah, man.
Going up against Brandon Jenkins, who's 0-1 in the UFC. May have something to do with it. Klose has been climbing. His odds have been climbing quite a bit. He's a guy that's been around for a while. 5-2 in the UFC. Brandon Jenkins, not a ton known about this guy. I mean, he's a high finisher. But Klose is one of those guys. I don't love these odds, if I'm being honest. Because Drakkar Klose is very good. But he tends to... He's more talented than the way he fights.
Yeah.
He fights like a dog. He's a scrapper. He likes getting into some wars. The fight with Beneil Dariush.
Fucking nuts.
Fucking nuts. Amazing fight. But he was dominating. I mean, not dominating, but he was nearly had that fight finished and let Beneil come back and knock him out. So that's been kind of close for me. Like he's a lot. I know he's good. Like I know he's really good. He's got really good wrestling. But you wouldn't know that because he gets into so many wars and fist fights. It's just I believe he's going to win, and I'll talk about that in my parlays, but I don't love the odds here.
Yeah, it's interesting too. I mean, I have him in a parlay for later, but it's one of those where you really have to be like, where can I find true value here, because I do believe that Klose wins this fight, but who knows? I mean, Brandon Jenkins making his debut here, you never know. He could come in and, cause a big ruckus on the scorecards and on the bet slip. So just tread lightly with this. Klose obviously has the UFC experience to back him up, but those are heavy, heavy odds.
Pannie Kianzad is someone that a lot of people have been interested in, and she's back here. Very big favorite as well, -410. Taking on Lina Lansberg.
Yeah.
She's ranked right in front of her, but a 3-1 underdog. Any chance Lansberg pulls off an upset here?
Oh, I think it's going to be hard for her. I tend to lean Pannie here. She'll be talked about at the parlay portion of the show. And, at -410, those are big-time odds. But she was on a tear, man, before her loss to Raquel Pennington. I think she had won 5 in a row. So she's just very well-rounded, very high fight IQ. I think this is kind of some of the freshest life that the bantamweight division have is in Pannie's side. So she's looking to right the ship here. And I would tend to lean that way as well in this fight over Lansberg.
I like her in this matchup. But I can't shake this feeling I have that Kianzad might be a bit overrated. Like when I hear people saying that she's like a prospect in this bantamweight division, I think that says more about the bantamweight division than it does about her actually being like a super legitimate title threat in the future or anything like that. But I do like her in this matchup. I do. And I'll talk about that later.
Right.
Now here's a fight that I am pretty excited for. Devin Clark taking on William Knight. Devin Clark coming off that gutsy performance where he got his teeth all busted up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you remember that one? He
was
fighting the Alabama football player.
Eric Anders.
Eric Anders. See, that's why we work, because I just give a little description and you just got the name right there in your head.
Peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah. Devin Clark, though, he had his main event against Anthony Smith where he got submitted real quickly. It seems like Devin Clark has kind of become synonymous more with his losses with his wins, but when he wins, he does look pretty good. But William Knight is a big fucking guy in this weight class.
He is.
Like, he's going to be outweighed on fight night by like 20, 25 pounds, Devin Clark, that is.
Yeah, William Knight looks like a bodybuilder.
Yeah, it's just, but William Knight, the consistency hasn't always been there. He's missed weight, I think, one time or two, and, he looked real good against like Fabio Cherant, but, Fabio Cherant's not even in the UFC anymore.
Yeah.
Do you tend to lean with the consistency, or really neither of these guys are all that consistent? Do you tend to lean more with, I guess, the guy who's done it longer in Devin Clark, or someone with maybe more of those physical traits in William Knight?
Yeah, that's a great question, man. I have a straight bet here, and it is for this fight to go the distance. Some may look at William Knight and think you're fucking crazy for thinking this guy's going to go the distance, but he's not had like a ton of finish, especially like in his UFC career. You know what I mean? And I just feel like this is going to be one of those kind of drag it out. Might not be the prettiest of fights. Devin Clark's like the king of going the distance, but he's 8-1 when he does go all 3 rounds in his instance. So we'll kind of see what happens, man. I can't kind of lean one way or another, but I feel very strongly that this fight goes the distance. I got that at -135. So not anything crazy, but one that I can confidently feel it's going 15 minutes.
I like the longer this fight goes for Devin Clark to be.
I would agree.
More in the winners.
I think we see Knight fade as the fights go longer in his career. Devin Clark, again, he's good when he wins decisions because he can stay fresh. It's just a matter of him not getting finished here by Knight.
Very durable guy, right? Next fight's an interesting one. For the first times in the 2 weeks we've done this, we have a fight with no odds.
No odds.
And, but it's a really fun fight, man. So we had to talk about it. Mounir, Lazzez. You spelled his name wrong, but that's okay. I was like looking, I'm like, Mounir? That's okay. But he's going up against Ange. Now, you look on paper and you kind of might write this one off. Lazzez 1-1 in UFC. Ange hasn't even, this is his debut. He didn't even win on the Contender Series. But dare I say, this is an under-the-radar fight because Lazzez is, funny enough, he's the fighter who one of Dana White's son's friends pitched to him, and he got that war come from behind victory against Abdulrazak Al Hassan. Awesome fight. However, he was a favorite against Warley Alves and got put away by him. So it was kind of up in the air how good Lazzez might really be. He's a good striker, but I'm not sure if he has like the full game to really, counter play defense at all. Really,
Yeah.
well, Ange was on the losing end of a decision in probably my favorite Contender Series fight of all time, and that was against Jack Della Maddalena. Losa looked really good, really solid, powerful guy. So, dare I say, this could be the fight of the night. But
100%.
honestly, you guys, I don't know what the odds are going to be, obviously. I think I saw Lazzez was I think he was a minus 170, something like that. And Losa's like a 2-1 underdog. Losa is taking this fight on very last second notice, so keep that in mind. But I think there's some value on Losa here, if I'm being honest. He's a more powerful guy. You got to think that the gas tank, though, is going to lean Lazzez. So if Lazzez can get through an early onslaught, you might favor him in the later rounds. You saw how he did against Al Hassan. Maybe this fight will have some shades of that, but, don't have much besides that, though.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see how it plays out, but I like your thought of it could be potential fight of the night written all over it. These two guys, two durable guys that are going to bang.
Next one, I wouldn't even come close to calling for a fight of the night here. However, two prospects that interest me a lot. Pat Sabatini taking on TJ Laramie. Pat Sabatini, the wrestler of the two. TJ Laramie, more of the striker, but also just a guy who's looking to get a win here. But he gets a tough draw in his second out against Sabatini. What do you got on these guys?
This is going to be a lot of grappling, and dare I say high level, especially should Sabatini begin to take over. I think this is a really tough fight for TJ. TJ looked good on his Contender Series fight, not so great in his UFC debut, and this is just a really big step up. Pat Sabatini's a guy that, if I'm not mistaken, he is undefeated in the UFC, right? Let me see. Yeah, 3-0 in the UFC, and he's essentially dominated all three of them. He's not the most exciting or flashy guy, but he's damn good at what he does, and that's grappling. He does pose a submission threat, so there's potential value there. You got to kind of tread lightly and kind of really dig deep to find, obviously, the good side when the odds are so heavily swayed. I think we could see high-level grappling from Sabatini here. TJ Laramie, I think it's a very uphill battle.
I agree. Laramie getting a tougher fight in his second time out after coming off a loss. That just, man, they must hate this guy. No, I'm just kidding. But the play that I love here is for this fight to go to distance. I got it at minus 125. Sabatini, he's, before the UFC, he was finishing at a pretty decent rate, especially with the submissions. But he has one submission in the UFC, but the other two fights have told more of the story.
Right. A
lot of top position, a lot of control time, but he doesn't advance positions all that much and doesn't do a lot of ground and pound. And again, not the most exciting, but a guy that I think has a lot of potential. I think is very much on his way to being very good for a long time in this company. TJ Laramie, I think, could have some fun fights in his future, but a tough draw on your second time out. I mean, Sabatini is going to really look to take this fight down. If Laramie keeps it standing, it gets interesting, but I think this fight goes the distance.
Yeah, I like that. I almost came very close to upping that and doing 2 units with you, my friend.
Following that, Mayra Bueno Silva taking on Wu Yanan. Another pretty big favorite here is Silva. Do you agree with this one?
I actually do agree with this one. I really like watching Mayra Bueno Silva fight in her last outing. Yeah, she's a fun fighter. She's a finisher for this women's division. Her last fight was against Manon Fiorot, and obviously she lost that one. But even that one was scrappy. She took Manon the distance for the first time in her career. Before that, she was steamrolling everyone. So I really like Silva here. The odds are huge. So, again, you do have to kind of look for value or parlay it. Mayra will be a part of a parlay for me later on, and I like this fight a lot for her.
And here's where a lot of my plays come in. A lot of mine into the main card. Miguel Baeza taking on Andre Fiallo, the fight that I'm most excited for. I'm a big fan of Miguel Baeza, and that's where most of my plays start here. Andre Fiallo is a tough guy. I think he's got a power advantage. I think he might have a wrestling advantage. But overall, skill for skill, tit for tat, experience a key here. Miguel Baeza, I think, just has more overall skills. I think he's a better fighter, better striker, smarter fighter. Fiallo is durable, though. That's something to keep in mind. But for me, it starts with Miguel Baeza on the money line. I got it at minus 180. Saw some people getting it less than that, so if you did, good for you. But you know how we do things here. We ain't chasing. We ain't chasing
Right.
the tightest of lines. All these lines come from DraftKings, by the way. Should have mentioned that at the beginning. But I think Miguel Baeza, I heavily favor him. I even have him on a parlay later. But even though Fiallo's a good opponent, I just think it's a tough draw for him when the guy's not even won in the UFC and he's fighting Baeza. Also, for this fight to go over 1.5 rounds, I had to take this. I'm not even sure. Like, Fiallo went to a decision against Michel Pereira in a fight where he had no business going the distance with him. It was just pure grit, will, durability. So I like that. So even if Baeza is piecing him up here, I don't know if Michel Pereira, who is like a 220-pound middleweight, couldn't put him away. I don't know if Baeza can, as good as he is on the feet. And on the opposite end, Fiallo's a bit of a slow starter. Just like Baeza can be a little bit too. They kind of start, they do. There's a feeling out process. So when I get those 1.5. I tend not to do over-unders if it's like 2.5 rounds, in
a 3-round fight, yeah.
But with 1.5, I saw this, and I've done pretty okay with them so far, so I'm going to do that as well. I got that at minus 165.
Yeah, I like those, Noah, and I'm going to add on a third bet for this fight alone. We're going big on this one. 3 bets in one specific fight. I don't know if we've done that before. I also like Miguel Baeza. But I didn't go money line. No, I'm taking a bit of a risk. I think he's going to get a big bounce back win. I think we're going to see that Baeza that we were so used to seeing in his first 3 UFC fights. Fialho is very durable, had that great gritty war with Pereira, but he's lost 2 via knockout, and I'm banking on him to get finished again. I'm going Miguel Baeza by finish, so there could be a submission as well, but Baeza is great with his hands, and I think he's going to go to work. Plus 140 Miguel Baeza by finish. I like those odds, and I'm taking a chance.
Co-main event time. Caio Borralho. It took him 2 attempts on the Contender Series, both of them within like a month of one another.
Yeah.
But he got the contract. He's here making his debut, going up against another guy making his debut who also came from the Contender Series, Omar Gadziev. Now, truth be told, both these guys are very good. I mean, combined record here is 23-1 with 1 no contest. It's very good combined record here. But Caio Borralho's performances on the Contender Series left a little to be desired for me. Like the second time out, of course, he looked great, got the finish. But Dominic, I'd like to know what the records are for guys who got a contract on their second or third attempt. The Contender Series, because I don't think it's very good. Jamie Pickett's the guy that
comes to mind. Yep.
And he hasn't really done a whole lot in the UFC. I feel like usually if they don't give a contract the first time out, you kind of think probably there's a reason for that.
Right.
Like there's guys who lose who I think are worthy of getting in, and they do a lot of times, and they end up being better than guys who win on the show. But Borralho just, that first fight especially, just didn't really do it for me. And Omar Gadziev I thought looked great. And he's undefeated. I think I put money on him on the money line. He's at minus 125. It's a risky play because really not a ton known about these guys. But I saw an opportunity here for Omar Gadziev. I literally looked at both guys come from the same show. You would kind of like to think they were fighting around the same level of talent. I'm taking a chance. I'm going to ride with Omar Gadziev minus 125.
Yeah, I like your pick for that. And also, I just think this is very interesting, giving these guys the co-main event slot. 2 debuters, both fresh off of the Contender Series. Just keep an eye on how this fight could be fun for all I know. But I don't have much more to note besides Noah's decent pick there.
And now we're on to the main event, money line.
Boom.
Vicente Luque at number 5 in the welterweight division, taking on number 6, Belal Muhammad. Luque a minus 170 favorite. Muhammad a plus 150. Dominic, do you agree with these odds?
I said it on the preview show, and I'm going to say it again now. This fight, to me, I think I view it anyway as a pick'em. I'm surprised Luque is a near 2-1. Obviously, he's not quite, but both guys with momentum. And that's what's so fun about this fight. Two completely opposite fight styles, but it's just so good in so many different areas. It's so close. Momentum again. This is a pick 'em to me, and I did not touch it.
I like these odds.
You touched it.
I did touch it. I think they're like right where I would place them, truthfully.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest difference between these two, because you're right, both momentum, both in similar positions here, 5 and 6. I think it's just the fashion of Luque's wins. And not that that should matter all that much. I mean, overall, win's a win. It all equates the same, right, on the record. But
Yeah.
Luque is finishing guys like Michael Chiesa, Tyron Woodley. Belal Muhammad did. I think the win over Stephen Thompson is not talked about enough. The way he neutralized him was very impressive. But, the Damian Maia win, did that really do anything for anybody? It was a defensive win. That fight, I hated that fight.
Yeah.
And that's truthfully why the odds are what they are. Luque has just always been this blood and guts warrior, but I think that almost undersells him.
Yeah.
Because he's got the skill to back it up. He's
a phenomenal fighter.
Yeah, it's not just he's okay, no disrespect to who I'm about to compare him to, because I love this guy. But I feel like when I talk about Vicente Luque, it's almost like I'm talking about Chris Lieben sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But Luque is really good, really talented, very well rounded. Not that Chris Lieben wasn't good. I'm just what I'm saying. Belal Muhammad's very good as well, and I think his wrestling has proven to be much better than I gave it credit for. But is he going to be able to get Luque down and keep him down? I'm not very confident that he can. Luque is also easier said than done when you get this guy on the ground, because if you leave your neck open for a second, he's going to put on a fucking darce like he's been doing, or whatever they call it, Bravo choke, Anaconda choke, whatever he's been putting on these last couple guys.
Yeah.
And those guys were, I would argue, better wrestlers than Belal Muhammad. I got Luque on the money line, -170.
I like it.
Now, let's see the graphic, Dominic, for all of our plays, and we will talk about our parlays for the week.
Oh, yeah, it is parlay time, baby.
All right. So there it is, all the singles up on the top half, as you can see. 3 parlays this week. 2 of these are mine. 1 of these is Dom's, so I'll go first. I'm going to start with the -109 parlay, which I believe is...
Middle one, yeah. Got a little crowded down there.
Wait a minute. Oh, there's 4 parlays.
Yeah, 4. 2 and 2.
Sorry, I thought that was 1 on top. Okay, so 2 and 2. Sorry about that. The -109 parlay, which is the second down.
Yep. Yeah.
So the first leg is in that Chris Barnett, Martin Buday fight. I have that fight to not go to distance. This is at a -650. I mean, definitely the odds makers think this one ain't going to a decision.
Yeah.
But, hey, I'm pretty sure that's around what it was for Burns Chimaev to not go to distance, and look what happened there. But these two guys, I think someone's going to put up a bit of a performance here. I think someone's going to be used as a stepping stone, and I think there will be a finish in that one. Second leg, Lina Lansberg, Pannie Kianzad. I have that fight to go to distance. Another one that I think has a good chance of happening. Pannie has finished a good amount of her wins, but I think Lina Lansberg is just going to be defensively sound enough to where even if Pannie's kind of dominating this fight, I don't think she gets the finish. I think it goes to distance.
Yeah.
Finally, Mayra Bueno Silva. I highly favor her to win this fight. There's only 2 ways I see it happening: a decision or a submission. There you go. Third leg.
Boom.
Take it.
Oh, do I go into mine? So I didn't know if we were going back to back. Okay, so I'm starting with my ladies' night parlay. That's what I'm calling this one.
Nice.
It's a +119 3-leg money line with Istela, Nunes, Pannie, Kianzad, and Mayra Bueno Silva. I think they're all big favorites for a reason, especially Kianzad and Silva. We've already talked about how Mayra, I think, is going to get a big win. Noah thinks a potential submission in there, but I'll take either of them, baby. And Kianzad, again, I still do believe in her potential a bit just for this 135-pound division. It needs any bit of life that it can get, and I think she's one of the ones leading the charge. And for Nunes, again, 0-1, a weird fight with her and Sam Hughes where neither have won a fight in the UFC. I believe in the potential of Nunes. Sam Hughes just hasn't gotten it done for me. I think it's a winnable fight in all areas. So with those three together, plus 119.
I like it. My last one here, it's kind of the method I've been doing, a money line parlay, heavy favorites, 3 legs at plus 118, Drakkar Klose, Pat Sabatini, Miguel Baeza. I already talked about all 3 of these guys. Miguel Baeza, I'm kind of doubling down on him here, so hopefully that one doesn't come back to bite me in the ash.
I like that, Noah. And to finish it out, I'm going with another 3-leg parlay. I'm going to bounce back and win fucking parlays this week. I'm throwing it out.
Any fun names for this one?
No fun names, I guess. Just kind of a normal one. This is one I've got a little funky with this one. I've not done one as funky as this one. So Sabatini to win by submission or decision. It was minus 360. I see no other shot that he gets a knockout or TKO, but you wait and see. He's going to do it this night. I just know it with him on the bet slip. Drakkar Klose by KO, TKO. Disqualification's always in there with those two. Or decision. I lean him heavily by decision, but I didn't want to take a chance on him getting a knockout against a debuting guy in Brandon Jenkins, who has been finished before. And the third leg is Martin Buday money line. Got him at 240 for the part of the parlay. We know he's minus 220 now, so the line's closed a little. I think it's going to be a fun fight. I love Chris Barnett. I think he's super fun to watch, but I believe Buday is a more well-rounded fighter, and I believe the ceiling is just a bit higher. So those 3 together, plus 117.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap it up here. That's the below average bet slip for this week. Let us know what plays you're making, what sportsbook you're using. Is there anything that you like about what we picked here? Is there anything you hate? What are you fading? Who are you siding with? Is it me or Dom? Or is it both of us? Because really we're a team here. We're a tandem.
True.
But just let us know all that. And we will be back next Thursday or Friday with next week. Next week's card headlined by Jessica Andrade, Amanda Lemos, correct?
Yeah. Another card like this one too, where there's going to be some digging, but it'll be fun.
There will be, but I do think there's a couple more
yes,
on
there
that
is.
Really chomping at the bit. So excited for that one. We will see you guys next week.